Isabella and David, did you feel the same way? What's it like to be an actor and step on the stage and be in an alien movie?
No, it's a weird film, isn't it? Listen, I love films that are genre films that break the genre, and I think Alien, the one that really created from the beginning, is exactly that. What I think our film does is the same thing, but differently. And I think that's what we all attempted to do. Shane, everyone that came on board to do this film really wanted to do that, I think we brought a lot more to the wonderful franchise that was Alien, so I think I'm like, I'm buzzing, bro. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. How long were we in Hungary for?
5 months.
Yeah, and it was just us on the same few stages, going to our same little dressing rooms, filming it chronologically, and it was like an acting camp as well. And yeah, I only got one scene with you really where it was just us, and it was very cool to watch you. You just would slip into character like that. It was very impressive.
No, the one I remember actually was the one where Andy doesn't open the door.
Yeah, thanks for that.
I on the inside, I didn't feel good.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, that's really interesting. That's interesting when you say you shot it chronologically. That's very unusual for a movie of this scale. Talk a little bit about that decision and what kind of conversations you had about Fede with it and what that gave you in the movie as actors.
Well, it was, I think it's always helpful to shoot chronologically because you kind of can make your choices in the moment and follow them through. The bad thing about shooting chronologically is if you make a bad choice, you've got to follow it through. So there's risks on both sides, but it was really a wonderful thing that Ferry gave us, especially with a film that's heavy on effects, heavy on, those wonderful special effects that we have. It's harder to do, and as actors, it's really helpful to do the story as you feel it, as you go through it. So it was certainly compromises from the special effects side, from the sound side, from everyone's side to shoot this as authentically as possible, and that's what chronological order gave us, I was saying. Yeah.
How do you approach doing sound for some of the gooier creature sequences?
Well, it's very weird to be saying next to Kay when I worked on her birth scene for weeks.
It's our first time meeting you.
Yeah, very interesting already. There was a lot of recordings. It's actually me throwing up. Is when she, finally came out.
Is that pre-recorded or?
Yeah.
You have that on deck all the time?
I do. It's locked and loaded. We went to Ralph's and went to the meat department and just asked, like, are you throwing out any meat? And they gave me like a 15-pound bag of like meat bits. And I had no idea what it was. It was just all in this one stack together. So we bought that, got a couple crabs, lobsters, that kind of stuff.
Did you charge Disney?
No, but it still smells really bad in my office. But we just like went to town making stuff as gross as possible, and that was all from like the chest burster, and I don't know what the technical term is, but at work we call it the space badge. Technical term. It's a space badge.
That was her nickname.
Okay, there we go. So we just try to keep it, super, super gross. Like Navarro and the chest burster comes out, all that rib cage stuff. I had a tree that fell down in my backyard, so that's like a lot of me like twisting the roots and stuff. So we just try to get super creative, super gross, and I just my goal was, how can I make this so gross that my mom's gonna be disappointed in me?
I had a fake body. That was really cool, and the egg actually came out of the fake body. That was also really cool. I was hidden underneath, sitting up straight, and all I have to do is lean back and it looked like me. And then when it came to the Xenomorph, it was really cool to see him and our lovely actors in the suits just hanging out in between takes. Like they would ask for water, but they needed a straw, and then you could see them drinking out of the neck of the xenomorph. Because it kind of sits, the head sits on them like a hat, like a sun hat. It's nice. It's pretty cool.
Well, and David, talk a little bit about shooting some of that stuff, like the zero gravity scenes, things like that.
They were as practical as possible. You know, we did have some harnesses and was wired up, but we climbed and we did a lot of that core work, shall we say. You know, it was grueling. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was definitely not an easy shoot at all. We did some of those zero gravity scenes that took weeks to do. You know, Katie, all of us just kind of be like, oh, what, go on, look us up again, go on. You know, it was tough stuff to do, but we knew we were kind of putting something in together that felt like it was going to feel authentic and true, and I think that's what's on the screen.
Now, in terms of playing synthetic, did you go back and look at the Ian Holm or Lance Henriksen performances in the earlier movies, and was there anything you kind of took from those, or not, or do you want to just make this guy your own thing?
No, I didn't. But that's only because they're like emblazoned in my head. You know what I mean? I've got the references. No, I mean, all you want to do is kind of make something true. You shouldn't compare yourself as an actor to anything. Other people do that for you. You know, you should just do what you know to feel right. I really wanted to play with, because Andy's unique in the synthetic universe, where he's kind of got, he starts off kind of malfunctioning and then kind of has a glow up, as I like to say. And I really wanted to play with all of me. You know, like, I think every single muscle was like feeling something, and I wanted to like just play with that. I think there's other synthetics which are just brilliant, like Michael Fassbender's writers who are like really good at like glass eyes, and that's wonderful. But I didn't want Andy to be that. I wanted him to have to be feeling something to the point where it's like sociopathic, maybe psychopathic. You know what I mean? I thought turning that guy was kind of fun. So yeah.
Lindsay and I got a call, did an emergency Zoom call with FedA, and it was like a Sunday or something, and it was like super important, and we're like, oh, I think we're gonna get fired. And he goes, okay, we have this idea, and we want Rook to be a model that looks just like Ash. And I was like, that's awesome. And then I thought, that's terrifying. Because it was the first thing up for us. And you have to understand, and when you watch the first film tonight, Ian was 43, I think, in 79. And there was no record of a mold of his face, even though they made one when Yaphet bashes his head off with the fire extinguisher. Nothing existed. There was no digital scan back then. There was nothing. So what we had to do was figure out, like, how are we going to resurrect a man who was deceased from 1979 and make it believable and make it a character that can act with these wonderful actors, like in a scene multiple times. And so you just rise to the challenge and you say, okay, we're going to take it as far as we can with an animatronic. We will need the help of visual effects here and there to bridge it. And what it ended up being was a portrait sculpture from photographs that was then scanned and then put into the computer and kind of worked even a little further. A silicone face that is then given extreme animatronic mechanisms underneath, They found an actor that they did all the lines with, and then we pre-programmed all of the lines that were on a track. Then there was a recorded system that could play back, so it would do it every time the same way in terms of the face movement. And then the left hand was completely eaten away, and that was animatronic. The torso is all, eaten away, and it's lit. The right hand is my friend Chris Swift's hand underneath next to me, and I'm the idiot with my hand up inside his head, moving his head. So we're crammed underneath the desk. So we had to work with the set construction to kind of hide us inside there. And so we're a combination of animatronics, sophisticated animatronics, and old school sort of like hand puppetry plus a real hand. So the real hand really helps fool you with touching keys and touching, grabbing things. And it was pretty scary because we just didn't have a lot of time to do it. Because his wife didn't want to agree to it for a long time and rightfully so, she didn't know if it was going to be making fun of him or something, but so we lost a couple of months, But ultimately, I'm very proud of it because I think it works pretty well. It's I don't think anyone realizes how difficult that was to pull off.
It's brilliant, right? But there are these wonderful moments as an actor when there's many takes where we all get it wrong. Like we do something, start saying the lines, but start doing it, We did that. On their side, it was the funniest thing sometimes, because at times it was like marvelous. Like you see this animatronic creature was shooting up the back and someone on the side, and everyone was like, there's 5 people doing 10 things at once. And then other times like, we're acting, giving it our all. And the track is like saying the lines, and they're just like, no, do you know what I mean? And I'm saying that as a story just because I think it's the fun thing about filmmaking. You made it work. You know what I mean? You put it all together in no time, and I think we all kind of felt that. You didn't get the film to offer. It's crazy. So,
It was a challenge, but I'm very proud of it at this point.